This project, Charlottetown Avenue, is just down the street from Stonewall. This is in a part of Charlotte that's called Midtown. This area was at one time covered over. There's a creek sort of middle of that photo, and it was covered over, and the old Midtown Mall was there, which was an auto-oriented shopping mall development. And in recent years, the city's invested nearly $13 million in infrastructure improvements to improve the street network around a new development in this area. So this is Charlottetown Avenue, which was part of that. There's a bridge on Charlottetown just behind the bus there that goes over Little Sugar Creek Greenway, which is part of a greenway system that extends from South Carolina into northern Mecklenburg County. So it's very integrated with greenway users, pedestrians, and cyclists. I thought it would be nice to have a photo with the skyline of Charlotte in the background. And so this project, which was also another street conversion, was the West Morehead streetscape project. Also another example from one of the many 4-lane streets in Charlotte that we converted to a 3-lane facility with bike lanes. Also thought this photo was appropriate because, again, we have a lot of overhead utilities. And this one also raises the issue of how do you work around utilities and also get street trees. And so in this case, it's hard to see because this photo was taken before we had a lot of leaves on the trees, but we do have small maturing trees in the planting strip between the curb and gutter and the sidewalk. This project, East Boulevard, was really one of the first road conversions we did in Charlotte several years ago. This project was very controversial, very political, and there were a lot of concerns from the neighborhood. Basically, we have a lot of driveways in this area. We also have a lot of shops and businesses within walking distance of this area. This had 4 travel lanes, and folks were very concerned that traffic congestion was going to be terrible if we did this project and took away lanes from motorists. We had lots of trips to city council, lots of trips to the public, and this project was a good example of how lots of public involvement and just persistence with being willing to hear the concerns of the public and work extra hard to analyze and consider different situations paid off in the end. Because even though there was a lot of concern from the public and some of our council members, we were able to proceed with the project. And once it's on the ground, this was a good example of the public really buying into the concept of what we're doing. So this really was the start for a lot of these types of projects in Charlotte. And the success that we had here has carried into the future. And actually today, as we speak, the second phase of East Boulevard is undergoing a similar transformation. This photo is here to represent that not all that we do in Charlotte is street conversions. This was actually a new street out in a more suburban and developing area in Charlotte. And it's here more or less to show that our guidelines basically include bike facilities on all our new projects. You'll also notice that through the wide planting strip that we have here, I think this photo was taken before we had completed our planning for the project, but by providing a wider planting strip in these suburban areas that the USDG recommends, we're able to come back in and plant large maturing trees in the planting strip that make a real long-term difference on our projects. Wanted to include a couple of slides just to show you some of the visualization techniques that we're using in our interaction with the public. As you know, I'm an engineer. I'm proud to be an engineer, but engineering plans are not the most exciting things to look at all the time, and they're also a little hard to understand. So this is a way that we commonly go to the public and try to describe in more visual terms what we're considering for a project. This was the Oakdale Road project. As you can see, this particular This is the same project, but through the 6-step planning process that we went through, the nature of the street changes along its length. So this is another example in a more business portion of the street, where we actually proposed on-street parking in addition to the bike lanes. And instead of a planted median, we included a center turn lane for better access to those businesses. We also look for ways to include traffic calming and other features on our projects. This example is actually on a farm-to-market project. Farm-to-market is what we call older roads in the city that traditionally were used to transport goods from the country into the central business district for commerce purposes. And so they didn't have a lot of facilities, but as the area has grown and urbanized, the farm-to-market program is trying to bring those old roads up to city street standards. This roundabout is proposed as part of the Robinson Church Farm-to-Market project that's currently in the design phase. Also wanted to mention a little bit about what the Urban Street Design Guidelines includes for cycling. Basically, we are continuing to expand Charlotte's bicycle network, and that basically consists of providing bike lanes on higher volume and higher speed streets, and providing bike routes on lower volume and lower speed streets. And that has advantages for all users, is what we found. This next slide is simply a listing of bike lane projects that we've done since 2003. Often these road conversions and bike lane projects we do as part of the normal resurfacing process for our streets. So that actually saves us a lot of money. So we have created to date 55 miles of bike lane projects in the city. And this is just a sample of a few of those. In addition to the marked bike lanes, we have almost 100 miles of bikeways that include greenways and other bike facilities. And all that infrastructure has gone in place since 2003. In regards to sidewalks and other amenities for pedestrians, over the last 5 years, the city has installed approximately 100 miles of new sidewalk through our capital program. The sidewalk widths vary by land use, and also as part of our sidewalk projects in Charlotte, we're very proud of our street tree canopy, and we're working to try to provide more of that for the future as part of our project. So in our planning stroke design, we also include landscaping. And USDG also provides opportunity to build traffic calming into our project. So this top photo is a picture of a choker road in a neighborhood in East Charlotte, and the bottom photo is just of a completed neighborhood roundabout. Two more slides for you. This one basically lists some of the challenges we've seen in Charlotte. One of those, I think, is the way that changing the way people think about street function. As an engineer, I think between the 50s and certainly the 90s, we had a different way of looking at street design. We designed a lot of projects that created a disconnected network and didn't provide for other modes of transportation, and we're trying to change that mindset. Also, retrofitting existing streets is very expensive and comes with its own set of challenges. As part of new ideas on these projects, we also have some new design construction details, and so bringing the industry up to where we are currently is also a challenge. And in Charlotte, we're currently working on changing our subdivision ordinance, which governs private development plans, to include these changes, and that's also been quite a negotiation and a conversation as well. Basically, we have focused a lot of our energy in Charlotte today on actually getting the policy together and getting complete streets projects on the ground. We're currently working on developing a standard process for evaluating how effective they are. That includes before and after studies with data collection. We also are interested this type of information, communicating it, and using it to tweak future designs, I think it will help to promote the complete streets approach. We still have work to do in Charlotte. As you can see here, eventually the funding runs out, or you get to a place where you just have a bad situation. But the primary message, I think, for our staff is just stick with it, and you can make a lot of progress. This photo with the bike lane, I will tell you that that's actually been fixed. That was intentional. We actually worked with a developer who installed the next portion of that bike lane and sidewalk. So by us not installing it with our capital project, we saved money, and it was a more efficient way to get that done. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.